I have to admit something. I don't particularly like preaching on this day. In fact, I had it worked out in parish I served in Birmingham that the bishop would come on Palm Sunday, and he got to preach for a number of years. And when I came here, I had all of these people to preach for me. But here I am this morning. And as I said, I don't particularly like preaching on this day. Palm Sunday asks us to hold too much at once. Joy and grief, hope and dread, a parade and a trial. One minute we are outside waving branches singing Hosanna. The next we are standing in the shadow of a cross that we are not yet ready to face. And I am not very good at making sense of things that are still unfolding. I am not interested in tying this week up neatly. There is no honest way to rush past what is coming. So today we begin where the liturgy begins, with a procession. Jesus enters Jerusalem, but not the way rulers enter cities. No war horse, no armor, no show of force. He rides a borrowed colt. It's street theater, really, a deliberate act, a counter procession, if you will, because on the other side of the city, at the very same time, there likely was another procession. The Roman governor entering Jerusalem for Passover, surrounded by soldiers, weapons, and imperial power. Two parades, two visions of the world. One built on domination, one built on humility. One sustained by fear, one sustained by love. And Jesus chose the second, not as passivity, but as resistance, nonviolent resistance. This is not weakness. This is courage of a different kind. He is not withdrawing from power. He is exposing it. He is revealing how fragile it really is. Because empires depend on compliance. They depend on fear. They depend on people believing that violence is inevitable. And here comes Jesus, refusing to play by those rules. Blessed is the King who comes in the name of the Lord. But not the kind of king that anyone expected. And that's where things begin to unravel. Because this kind of kingdom is dangerous, not just to Rome, but to anyone invested in keeping things the way they are. The story we are about to walk through this week is not simple. It's not a story of good people and bad people. It is not a story we can weaponize against others, especially not against Jewish communities who have suffered for centuries because Christians misread this text. What we see instead is something far more human and far more unsettling, because it is so human. We see a convergence of fear. Roman authority anxious about rebellion, local religious leadership trying to hold a fragile peace under occupation. Crowds shifting and uncertain. A volatile moment, a system under pressure. And into that system walks Jesus, healing, teaching, disrupting, refusing violence, and calling people into a different way of being human. That kind of presence doesn't just comfort people, It unsettles them because it exposes the gap between the world as it is and the world as it could be. And then there are the disciples, which is where the story stops being abstract. Because if we're honest, we are much closer to them than we are to anyone else in the story. They have seen everything: the healings, the meals, the mercy. They know who Jesus is. And still something happens. Fear creeps in. Self-preservation takes hold. And slowly, almost imperceptibly, distance begins to grow. Not all at once, not dramatically, but in small ways. A hesitation, a silence, a moment where it feels safer not to be associated. There's a moment later in the story, and we're not going to rush there today, when Peter is asked a simple question. Are you one of his disciples? And his answer is just as simply, I am not. Not shouted, not defiant, just self-protective. And if we're honest, that's the place where most of us live. Because the truth is, most betrayals of the way of Jesus don't happen in dramatic moments. They happen quietly. When we choose comfort over courage, when we avoid conflict instead of telling the truth, when we go along with systems we know are broken because resisting them feels costly. When we say with our lives, if not our words, I am not one of his disciples. Palm Sunday doesn't ask us to resolve any of this. It asks us to notice it, to walk the road with Jesus, not ahead of him, not past him, but with him, to see what nonviolence looks like when it collides with power, to see what love looks like when it refuses to dominate, to see what happens when truth enters a system built on fear, and to begin asking ourselves gently but honestly, where do I stand in this story? Not at the end, not yet. We are not at the cross, that will come. For now we are at the gates of the city with palm branches in our hands, hope in the air, and tension just beneath the surface. So I will leave you with the question that is already beginning to echo through this week. When the moment comes, and it will come, are you one of his disciples?